Best coaches in the game, we really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your check. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Let me tell you, I got a cat and a dog living in the same house that are absolutely getting at each other from time to time. So if that interrupts the upcoming show, I apologize. The cat is whacking the crap out of my dog. My dog's a 70-pound boxer, and the cat owns it. So if you hear any interruptions, that's what's going on. But what's up, DFS Army? It's your boy Choppadong live MLB Lock Show, where we don't just build lineups, we break slates. Got a coupon code scrolling down there at the bottom. We'll change it up through the show, but we have a big slate tonight. There are pieces, viable pieces all over the place. We've got a weather watch in Atlanta that could impact one of the chalkier arms, so we'll keep a close eye on that. As for chalk pitching, it's pretty stacked. I mean, there's 4 names over 25% ownership tonight. You've got Soroka, Kikuchi, Glasnow, Fried, 4 names, 1 slate. Too much ownership to go around. So we'll talk with Razzle about what we're doing there. Don't forget, Coors Field is open for business. The Blue Jays are visiting. They're at value price, so they're cheap. That leads to GPP dreams or maybe an ownership trap. We'll cover that as well. And really and truly, we're going to try to piece it all together. Cash, tourney, pivots, leverage, everything in between. And that's where we need our boy, the human optimizer himself, Razzle, a.k.a. Raz GPT, the model-powered madman who probably simulated tonight's slate 10,000 times before the rest of us ate breakfast. So we kind of got to ask him, Raz, what's the vibe tonight? Are we trusting the chalk, or are we is it just fade city all over the place with all the other options?
Man, I think we're trusting most of the chalk. I don't understand the Soroka chalk, even though I like Soroka. I don't understand why he's more popular than Max Fried. I don't understand why Max Fried's not the highest owned pitcher. I understand the Toronto chalk. I thought it was pretty weird to see that basically the rest of the slate is very spread out aside from Toronto. And because of that, I made a really weird tier 1 team to go with a not so weird tier 1 team for later.
Ooh, so we got an obvious one, I guess you're saying, and then we've got a sneaky one.
That is it.
I like sneaky. If I could get my little notepad here and my pen, I can't find it. I would be all over the note taking. So anybody else, man, if you can find a pad and paper, you might want to take some notes before you'll get an edge on me because I can't find one right now. You didn't miss shit to Prince. We're all here. Tattoo said he got a 4th place over the weekend, or maybe he said 7th. We're all here. Let's hashtag win. Helmets up. Let's get this baby off and running. Maybe we'll build. I kind of at the end do want to build another cash lineup and then have you pivot off it for where your first couple of pivots would go based on what you see the optimizer do. If we've got the time, we'll get to that. But let's dive into the weather station first. And there's what we see right there. Atlanta, hot Atlanta. First of all, it's not that hot today, but there's a 70% delay risk, 30% PPD risk. Obviously, that is up there enough that I would say that it's worth paying attention to. So, Razzle, what are you doing with that game?
I'm playing it. As of right now, I'm not using pitching. I'm never using Fetty anyway, so whatever. Priester right now is not in my pitcher pool. I just don't think I'm going to make an adjustment and use him. Plus, I just don't think Priester's as good as he's shown. I I also think Atlanta, now that pressure's kind of off since they've kind of given up, I think their offense might actually wake up at some point in the second half.
Sounds like the opposite of what might happen to my guys here in St. Louis. Going out and facing the Dodgers. I mean, I think that I don't know how much you like the Dodgers yet, but I can tell you that I know it's Sonny Gray, but dude, St. Louis look like they've completely given up across the board. So hopefully Atlanta does relax, and hopefully they do score some runs for everybody. That would be awfully nice. Milwaukee side of that, any interest?
Quite a bit of interest in the Milwaukee side.
All right, well, maybe we'll get to that when we get to the stacks. Sounds like a plan to me. When I look at the pitching, and I usually just jump over to Domination Station for that, sort the pitchers, sort by ownership, and I see all these guys here. Soroka, 37%. Glasnow, 32% projected. Kikuchi, 27% projected. And then even Max Fried at 22%. And even Sean Manaea probably is somewhat viable down there at 15%. What would you do? We'll see what Domination Station does here in a little bit. Who of those guys do you think are the safest pitchers? And then who would be your GPP pivots if you were kind of looking to use the field, kind of against itself?
I mean, I think that Max Fried is the safest pitcher on the slate.
That's good at a little bit lower ownership. I mean, of the four names I mentioned, fourth lowest, projected.
Yep.
Can be a good thing.
His Carnage report numbers just pale in comparison to even like Sonny Gray, which is weird. But I guess some of that stuff just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand Sean Manaea. Massive numbers.
Right.
His Ks have deteriorated as his pitch count has gotten higher since his return. K numbers strongest very first start off the IL, and all of a sudden every start since it's gone down while the pitch count has gone up. So I don't really like that. And so to me, from my eyes, it just doesn't match what the Carnage report says. Glasnow, a ton of upside. K upside might be a little lower than showing. So that's kind of why I like Fried more. Plus Glasnow has this just blow up ability. And since St. Louis doesn't strike out enough, a whole lot, that's kind of why I'm heading that route. Soroka has an upside matchup for sure. But I think Cincinnati probably is left-hand heavy enough that I just don't love it. I know the wind is blowing slightly in Wrigley, so that helps. But those, I don't know, like Soroka-wise, I think the GPP pivot ends up being, trying to think of how my pool breaks down here. DK-wise, it's going to be Eric Lauer, even though I think Lauer's fairly popular. Yes, I haven't looked in a while. Hitting weather in Coors is pretty strong. Yeah, Lauer's not going to be popular, so he's my pivot down there.
You think he's got the upside to do serious damage at 6,300, I guess?
I do, just because Colorado provides so much K upside.
Mm-hmm.
And Lauer has multiple starts in the 20s from DK point perspective.
He will not be owned.
No, it's sub 5% right now.
Yeah.
But I like pivoting down $700 to a guy that kind of projects about the same DK point wise as Soroka. Obviously, I don't talk about point projections very often, but that one stood out to me just because the ownership is about 8 times as much on Soroka in the last update. So yeah, I mean those pivots, like Manaea, I pivot down to Lodolo. He's thrown really well recently, and it's the same ballpark that Soroka's pitching in. That I feel like Soroka's ownership is jacked up because of the weather blowing in. So why would we not like Lodolo on the other side? Cubs are without PCA today. I mean, left on left is probably a better thing for the Cubs, but still, it does take one of the most dangerous bats out of the lineup. So, I really like the idea of going down from Minaya to Lodolo to save 800. Just because I actually think Lodolo projects a little better than Minaya.
So what I'm seeing is if you saw Soroka and Glasnow in the DS as your 1 and 2, or if that's where you're starting just with the chalk in a cash build, you are comfortable enough coming off of one of them and picking up Fried, who you feel is the safer pitcher. And GPPs, you might even come off of Soroka then and get down to, Lodolo or honestly, maybe even Lauer.
Yeah, definitely Lauer. I mean, you could go up from Soroka to Kikuchi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Kikuchi is popular, just not as popular as Soroka.
I wonder if that's a 1-2 punch, being that Glasnow and Fried are up around 10K. I wonder if people are sort of, the ownership's picking up on Soroka and Kikuchi at sub 8K so they can really get into Coors or whatever offense they want.
It might. I mean, those are the 4 highest projected owned pitchers on DK.
Mm-hmm.
Manaya's 5th, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yes, I removed my non-pool pitcher, so I don't know what Sonny Gray's at. I know this morning he was right around Minaya.
It's 9,300, but he's sub 5%.
Yeah. Hasn't changed that much because I think when I did the video this morning, he was around 12% or something.
I would think that's recency plus it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I know I didn't keep track of how often the numbers moved, but yeah, it definitely moved on him because somebody that I removed from my pool, and I imagine it being Sonny Gray, was around 13%, 12 to 13%. And nobody, now I'm looking at the guys that are removed, none of them are above, 9.1%. So, yeah, I mean, some of it, yeah, it's going to be Coors related, but I don't know. Those are the top 4 guys, Minaya being the 5th. So, like, 3 of the top 5 guys are 9,500 plus.
Right.
So they're able to get there. But yeah, I mean, that's why I would have thought Lauer was a little more popular at 6,300. Just because then I guess it does help that Toronto doesn't have Springer. To where you're really only spending. Well, Barger's jacked up in price, but Vlad and Bichette.
Right.
And then you have, Kirk's mid 3Ks or whatever it is, which I felt like was a pricing error.
Yeah, you got a couple of mid 3K guys in that Toronto lineup, and I think that's why when I ran it earlier today, the optimizer for cash games, just to kind of see what the numbers would be and project chalk and whatever else, it put a couple of 2-3 Toronto guys in my bat just immediately, which it usually does. But it was like, oh, here, you can go outside of here and pick up some almost Acuna types or something like that if you want to do a cash game type thing. So interesting enough. Who do you think, if you had to pick, say, 2 pitchers, who are your favorite 2 to maybe break the slate or, maybe touch 10Ks or something like that?
Lodolo is going to be one of them because I think he's shown the K upside. And then maybe it's Adrian Hauser.
Ooh, okay.
I don't like the price point. I do like the K upside against the Angels. So Hauser's been pretty good against right-handed bats. And I think the left-handed bats, aside from Nolan Chanwell, are pretty weak in the Angels lineup. So I do think he's somebody that could break the slate at sub 4%. Not that I envision him being the highest raw point scorer or anything, but I think there's more upside for him. I mean, it's tough to pick Kikuchi, but Kikuchi and Glasnow are the 2 guys aside from Lodolo that I think have double-digit K upside in this for spots. Glasnow's just tougher to get to because of the Cardinals' lack of strikeouts.
Sure.
We just seen elite strikeout pitchers like Glasnow be somewhat matchup averse because when they're on, they can strike anybody out.
Mm-hmm. Makes a ton of sense to me, but that would then pivot towards any pitchers that you don't like or pivots that are stacks, I guess, or offenses that you would want to attack some of that pitching wish. So that segues pretty well into talking about stacks. You guys start thinking, we're starting to talk hitting now. So we know Coors Field's on the list. How many tier 1 teams do you have? How many tier 2 teams do you have? And we'll see if the boys in the comments can pick them out.
2 tier 1 and 3 tier 2.
3 tier 2. So that's 5 teams we're kind of looking for before he reads off his list. And you said one was obvious and one wasn't in terms of who you're attacking. So, I mean, you said you may or may not kind of get after the chalk or fade the chalk in the intro. So my question, Edward, pipe down, dude. Don't be blabbing Raz's notes for all of us. Is Toronto the team you're thinking of?
Toronto is going to stay in tier 1.
So you're just going to eat a lot of it, huh?
I eat a lot of that chalk. Toronto is a team that I've enjoyed stacking for the last month and a half. Like, they just turned it on, and I'm just going to roll with it. Now, obviously, the first game in Coors thing could be real, but there's a lot of runs in Coors over the weekend.
For sure.
Weather is the best in that ballpark today. It's the warmest, I believe, when I looked at it this morning, warmest game time temperature, most wind blowing out. Everything just kind of lines up for it. Toronto obviously could fail. The first game in Coors is certainly an option, but
it's not blowing out at any 5-6 miles an hour either. That's 14 out to center.
Yeah.
So that's a little up there for, wind report.
Obviously, I mean, I'm generally a guy that's underweight on Coors just because I don't value the ballpark the same way that the random people do. But this just, to me, feels like a spot that I will gladly eat the chalk.
Man, that's looking big too, because for the size of the slate, 147 on leverage stacks. Next closest team looks like it's 60 something.
Yeah, I mean there's a massive, but yet they still end up number 2 in our leverage ranking.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's important to note. Absolutely, it screams fade to me just by the ownership numbers, where you can get a lot of leverage off of them, but the sheet is telling you're not really getting that much leverage off of them. You're actually going to get leverage by being overweight on them anyway. So
I mean,
stands to reason.
The problem is I think I'm probably going to be just slightly underweight based on how I do things. I just don't think I'm getting to 140% total owned by the play. I mean, yes, maybe I will as one-offs and stuff, but I just don't feel that great about that. It's just all the other numbers just pinpoint why they should stand out. Like,
sure.
To me, it's the bigger question is why would Colorado be the second highest? Even though I do like Colorado from an upside standpoint, because I pointed out this morning in the video, they've been at home, for a number of games now, and they just put up a bunch of runs. It was against Pittsburgh, different kind of pitching staff, but still, they're comfortable right now at home. But they're also, the second highest cost team from an average salary standpoint, which doesn't sit well considering it's Colorado and, the worst team in baseball.
At $4,200 average price per player, would you rather have Dodgers in your lineup or Rockies?
Right.
I mean, I know it's Coors Field, and you're getting Dodgers at half the ownership.
Correct.
So, I mean, you would think that would generate some more leverage. But then again, here we are looking at Toronto, which is priced up at almost $5,000 per player, and they're almost triple the ownership of the next closest team, which, I don't know, I would put Colorado, Boston, Mets. Those are kind of all within 5-6 projected, ownership points of each other in a total ownership lineup situation. That's pretty negligible to me, where they're all kind of, who knows who's going to come in second, third, fourth, whatever. But yeah, it's interesting that you're questioning Colorado there too. I'm surprised you're not seeing that leverage and that ownership and just saying, okay, if everybody's going to be on Toronto tonight, I'm just going to be really, really on them and take your leverage on the other side of it, which is going overweight, because that's what I think the sheet's trying to tell us is they're still not owned enough.
Yeah, it's tough for me to adjust my percentages to get me to be overweight from a stack standpoint.
You'd have to be almost all in on them, and I don't think you want to take that level of risk.
Yeah, like because I do use 12 teams as a main stack, like it's just really tough to get there. No, I mean maybe I can utilize the mini stack side as a way to get overweight. I just don't know how much that's going to work, just because they are so expensive.
I wouldn't mind that if we weren't stuck in the bottom of the order with it.
Right.
So that's your obvious stack. You stayed with Toronto. Ownership, aside, you stayed with Toronto. Let's see what anybody else is firing out. Toronto, San Diego, Boston. I'm seeing some San Diego's in there. So let's go ahead and ask, is San Diego your other tier 1 team?
Who cheated?
Ed didn't say it. Ed he saw the notes. He didn't say anything, but Harlock said San Diego and Phil said San Diego. And so did they nail it?
San Diego is my other tier 1 team.
Wow. I was ready to drop the womp womp on people, and they went ahead and just picked it right off. And we can go weeks and weeks without getting you right. And today they just went 1-2. So either somebody looked at your notes and didn't admit it, or I don't know. Is it possible that's not as sneaky as you thought? I mean, I wouldn't have gone there. You would have got me.
Leverage wise, they're not as sneaky, I guess. Because I mean, in total ownership, we have them at 6th.
Yeah.
But they're 5th on the leverage rank. There's a lot of other red in there, right? Like the grade per dollar, our average grade,
sure,
average salary. Like they're an expensive team for a team that, I mean, what are they? They do have the 5th highest implied run total.
Right.
But, I put them ahead of
kind of Boston. Right in line with the chalk too, though. It's not too different. The 5th ranked IRT, they're about 5th ranked in ownership. It's kind of lining up.
Yeah, I just jumped them obviously ahead of Colorado since I didn't feel like they should be that as chalky. Jumped them ahead of Boston, ahead of the Mets, ahead of Milwaukee, who last night sounded like was going to be, higher in the percentages, because I had a lot of people asking about Milwaukee already last night because it is Fetty. And as Tattoo just pointed out, like, yes, I hate stacking San Diego. I normally do hate stacking them. So, like, to me, it feels like I'm taking a big change, making a big change in what I'm doing. They're very similar to like Kansas City when I think about them. Like, I just don't love stacking them.
I would agree.
But I'm here, and I felt like I like the trends for Jackson Merrill. Machado's been good. I think O'Hearn has helped them. Laureano. I don't love the fact that O'Hearn is basically just a slightly better version of Gavin Sheets, and Gavin Sheets has paid off real well for me much of the season. So I'm a little annoyed at that, but yeah, I mean, I like, and maybe somebody could have picked it out because 2 Padres are core plays for me tonight.
You got Phil saying he got lucky because he says a lucky guess. He's worked with you for, or worked listening to you for 3 years, and he just kind of guessed it. He is what he's saying.
It could be.
And Harlock says that he pretty much today, when he built his first lineup, it was a 5-2 San Diego Toronto stack. So, I mean, I'm going to guess you're going to approve of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, Don's saying that the back half of the Padres are still pretty good. Yeah, and Fott's been bad. I mean, you're all on the right track. It's just funny that you guys actually you pulled the leverage play on Razzle. He thought he was being sneaky. Y'all said chalk, bitch.
I also think their percentage went up from when I first started everything today, because I don't remember them being, 48, right around 50%. I feel like they were in the upper 30s when I first started today. So it could have just been the field is going higher on them, throughout the day.
for anybody that looked at the non-negotiables out on Twitter this morning, with kind of you throw a bunch of uniques in there and force the lineup optimizer to swap out everybody except who it really, really loves. And that kind of becomes like an optimizer core play. Of course, our coaches and cheat sheets will all be different, but the numbers will also change through the day. And so, like you said, if San Diego was higher or whatever, higher now than they were or whatever, then that can kind of point people towards them and they can kind of land on the same train tracks, which if we get the time when we run the optimizer again and do the old cash game play, I'll be interested to see how it changed from this morning, because when I ran it this morning, I noticed, a couple of core plays. I think they'll probably still be the same. We got his 2 tier 1 teams. We need tier 2. I'm going to let some other guys throw some of that stuff out there. I saw Boston mentioned. Did Boston make tier 2?
Boston is a tier 2 team.
They are tier 2. See if anybody else can find that. Yes, DePrince. San Diego's tier 1 along with Toronto. Anybody else got any other guesses before I just start ripping names down vertically down that list? Because I don't want to bore everybody, but I also don't want to sit here in silence either. So one way or the other, we're going to get the next name I threw out. I was going to say that Harlock next name I throw out is the Mets. Tier 2?
The Mets are not tier 2.
Good, because I didn't really want to hear that either. I wouldn't be. I mean, if it's me, I can see the logic behind the Dodgers being tier 2. But you're probably going to say no.
Dodgers are not in tier 2. They're my top tier 3 team.
Well, that's something at least.
I mean,
you were kind of talking, it sounded like a little positive about Milwaukee. So let's use the Milwaukee Brewers.
Milwaukee is tier 2. If you were in chat and Discord last night, you would have known that I basically said I would not put them in tier 1.
Yeah, you freaking cheaters.
That they would be in tier 2.
You guys that live in Discord around the clock, you're all cheating.
I just think that the Milwaukee lineup is so weak, but yet they came out and put up a ton of runs this weekend. They're without Frelick again. I absolutely love Contreras and Yelich, but a lot of that lineup is really ugly, and yet they still performed. I actually thought that they would be much more popular than they are right now. The lowest average priced stack.
Yeah.
And just 50% owned combined seems super low.
And in an okay matchup, in a plus matchup.
Yeah.
So what's your rundown of Boston and the Mets? Just being that we've talked about them, do you have any favorites or any ideas how you would use those? How much, when you mix and match your exposures, who you're really wanting to see pull in to your lineups?
I mean, with Boston, I'm gonna ride Trevor Story pretty hard. Romy Gonzalez, Rafaela, those 3 guys really stand out for me against the left-handed pitcher right now. Narvaez, Roman Anthony seems like he's popping out. I don't mind him. He's kind of shown enough left on left that I'm fine. But Trevor Story and Romy Gonzalez are the 2 that I'm making sure I get in.
Sure.
As far as the Mets, it's the left-handed bats against Ciccone. Dodo Nemo. I think Alonso's been swinging it well enough from a power standpoint that we probably can consider him. But I also don't love the Mets as much as I probably should. They're fairly popular, and I'm a little less than the field on them, or at least in my mind, I will be.
Okay. I mean, in baseball, that's okay to be lower than the field on just about anybody.
I mean, it's tough because they're the number 3 leverage stack.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're expensive. I mean, they're fine across the board, but offensively they just haven't been getting it done. So I feel better about them as a mini stack.
Okay. Dodgers are fairly self-explanatory. Anyone you're leaving out? Anyone you don't want to see in a San Diego lineup?
I mean, I'm trying not to use whoever's starting at catcher. I don't know if their lineup's even out yet, but based on our projected lineup, I mean, really, it's just the catcher. I guess I'm not gonna be in a hurry to play Bogarts, but he's fine. I'd rather play Laureano.
Sure.
Arise is swinging it well, and he's had some strong success against Fott, so gladly play him.
Has he had any power? Has he had any power against Fott?
I think he's like 6 for 9 with 2 doubles, something like that.
Okay. Because I know Fott gives up some ISO. Like that's one of the things that always pops off on leverage sheets or on the Carnage report. Is his ISO is usually the deep red color against. So if anyone is going to get hard contact and get a little bit more launch on it, Araz might be the guy that could do that.
Yeah, I like Cronenworth a little bit too.
Well, he's been a little hot recently too.
Yeah,
I think
Merrill and Cronenworth are my 2 favorite.
Okay.
Padre bats.
Well, and they're because they're not brand name. They're not Machado, and they're not Bogarts, and they're not Tatis or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, of the
value plays out of that lineup, sort of
some big names, like I wouldn't mind fading Tatis.
I agree.
He's kind of the one I'd much rather play Machado. I'd rather play O'Hearn than Tatis right now.
Wow. That's kind of a bold statement. I mean, not the craziest statement in the world, but it's still pretty bold that you'd rather almost take a O'Hearn over, Tatis. But Tatis is expensive as hell. So we've got one tier 2 team we haven't mentioned yet, right?
What do we got? Correct.
You said the Mets were not in it, but Boston was and Milwaukee was.
Yep.
So we're missing one. See what y'all got. We got the Milwaukee one. Y'all got one more guess. If not, I go right back to the list. I mean, if you want me to just read the list, I'll just read the list. Because the next one up is the LA Angels. If y'all got any objections to the LA Angels, that's where my guess is coming from. So 3, 2, 1. Boston's already in there. They're tier 2, Don. 3, 2, 1. LA Angels. Where we got them?
The Angels are not in tier 2. I don't even know.
Not the Rockies. You didn't do the Rockies, did you?
No, the Rockies are in tier 3.
So we're down to Yankees. I'm just going down the IRT list, boys. Yankees.
The Yankees are the other tier 2 team.
All right. What do you have to say about them pros and cons? How much exposure are you taking at 40%? It's not too hard to get over the field. Are you going to be significantly over or just kind of slightly?
Probably just slightly. I mean, tier 2, the way that I have it today at 2 and 3 teams in tier 2 and tier 2 and tier 1. Tier 2 teams are going to be around 10%, 5-man stack. So in theory, that kind of puts me ahead of, a 40%. So, but
not double the field or anything.
No.
So who else? Well, I guess who are you keying on in that lineup? And then after that, who else of the teams that we haven't mentioned need to be mentioned as somebody sneaky that you almost kind of put up there, but you're just not quite sure about?
With the Yankees, it's Stanton, Bellinger, Volpe. Volpe's been swinging it really well, at least power-wise. Like, he still had some over games, but I think over the last 2.5 weeks, he's hit like 7 or 8 home runs. Stanton and Bellinger, I think, have had success against Patrick Corbin. I mean, that's really the main guys that I'm targeting for the Yankees. It feels gross without Judge in the lineup, but I like Rosario against left-handed pitchers, but he's been terrible against Patrick Corbin, like 3 for 35 or something. So, I mean, you're going to mix in like Jazz because of his power upside, but still. Just Stanton and Bellinger really stand out, and then close your eyes and take Volpe.
Okay.
As far as other teams that I think are important, Kansas City is a team that I do want. As a 5-stack, they're lower on my list, but I like the weather in Boston a little bit. Some of the Kansas City bats are swinging it well enough. Witt, Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, Michael Garcia is fine. So there's just enough. So they're kind of like the last team that I put into my top 12. And I've made sure to not leave out the Cubs and the Reds, even though the wind's blowing slightly in Wrigley. Cubs have a chance to put up double-digit runs anytime because they run so much and everything. Right. And then I just think the Reds have enough excitement to be able to score runs. And Soroka can struggle a little bit. So especially against bats, and Cincinnati should have a handful of left-handed bats in the lineup.
It's a double dip if it happens, for sure. I got another question for you. This is completely off topic. So, I mean, just like with Tattoo when I'm hosting with him, this one's coming off the rails. What's the air temperature where you are right now? I see you sitting there in a hoodie. So either your AC is cranking on high or it's pretty chilly outside today.
I mean, it's a short sleeve hoodie.
Oh, okay. Well, that's different. It looks like you're just all wintered up right now.
It's 79 outside, but yeah, I turned my AC off hours ago, but I mean, my feet are cold, I guess, if that gives an idea. But I refuse to wear socks when I'm sitting at home. But yeah, I mean, it's a short sleeve hoodie, so it's not
right where the webcam cuts you off. I mean, like me, you can't tell if I'm wearing long sleeves or short sleeves, but
right.
It just looks like you're full on hoodie. I just had to ask because I know it's been cooler in some parts of the country, and this week anyway, it's going to warm back up for most people. But give me some dawn calls. I'll queue up the old domination station here. We'll see if we don't build us some cash lineups and get you to pivot off of some things for us too, and then we'll call it a day. You gotta have some dawn calls you like, or some K props, whatever.
Didn't really like the K props today all that much, especially after Tanner Bybee bent me over. I went hardcore K ladder and Tanner Bybee over the weekend.
Tanner Bybee.
I mean, he had a combined 10 at bats and at a 0-2 or 1-2 count that he couldn't put him away. And still struck out 5. So if he gets half of those home, then I'm hitting my entire ladder, and it's quite a bit of money. So that would have been nice. But dawn calls, like I mentioned, that Trevor Story is one of my favorite bats. So he's my favorite on this slate. I prefer the right-handed bats for Toronto, which isn't good. Coors is not good for right-handed power, despite what people want to think. But they're running out a reverse splits pitcher. So Vlad Bichette really stand out. That's why I was shocked to see Varsho and Barger with the best home run odds for Toronto. I'm trying to think of who else I mean, the Brewers with Yelich and William Contreras, because Contreras has been so freaking hot. And he has a great history against Fetty. I mean, as Tattoo said, he said Schwarber. Schwarber's always in my home run chamber. Just always ready to fire at him. I would have taken him yesterday, but everybody on staff kind of took him, so I went with Bryce Harper. And, of course, Schwarber was the one that hit a home run yesterday. But,
yeah.
Overall, I don't love this slate from a home run standpoint.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's just a lot of question marks for me, kind of across the board. But there are a few, obviously, that I love. I don't really love always thinking that William Contreras is going to homer, but he's been so hot that things kind of have to correct himself because he's been so bad for much of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that one has weather-related issues too, so we do need to pay attention to that. Like Yelich and Contreras are plus 500 on DK to homer, which seems a little rough. Like I would have thought somebody in that game is plus low 300s, and nobody is. So, Stanton's probably a pretty good bet to homer as well. Like, I mean, I can sit here and name a bunch of names to homer tonight.
Sounds like a 20-leg parlay to me.
I mean, Jordan Beck in that Colorado game, he's been swinging it so well. But again, another right-handed bat, and that scares me.
Sure. Well, let's dive into – I was playing around. People were watching. I made sure I shared the tab. The number was about 175. If it's 170 or 180 for you, it doesn't matter. That's just how much ownership you're forcing into your lineups, building about 5 to 10 with one unique player. And the thing that I want to do when I do that is I like to cut out the bottom of the order guys, bottom third, 1 through 6. I try to get 1 through 5. Like you saw me do that last second here, and I would have had to loosen up the ownership slider from 175 down to 170, 165, something like that to make it work. But I love it when my cash lineup has nothing but, top 5 order hitters in it. It's not mandatory by any stretch of the imagination, but if we just get it to run 1 through 6, you might want to say wrap Toronto for, value or so, whatever razzle you want to do with it. It looks like it really, really likes Michael Soroka. Loves Alejandro Kirk as your catcher in Toronto. And then it starts to kind of come off of jamming in people into every single lineup, but it's still like it likes Vientos in New York, which is interesting. Glass now is kind of mixing and matching with, I think it was it Kikuchi? Yeah, mixing and matching with Kikuchi, which is interesting. Now, these are tournament projections and things, so it's not like these are cash lineups. But what this is doing, honestly, for me in my history, is this has allowed me to maybe make some tweaks to these lineups or maybe pick one of these. Either way, we're not going to be that far off of a really strong lineup that has a high floor. It's definitely stacking Toronto, in some cases 5 bats from Toronto. I don't know that I would be doing that in a cash game. I'd probably cut it down to 4. But then again, if you're in for 4, you almost might as well go in for 5. It's just telling you all of Toronto is pretty underpriced by their projections. And it's either putting mini stacks with Milwaukee, which obviously Razzle would like, Colorado, if you think the game's going to go off. I saw Boston in there as mini stacks a good bit, which is also another tier 2 team out of Razzle. I don't know if you could get San Diego in there with them and really get Razzle's approval. But what would you do if we picked one of these lineups, knowing that they're Toronto heavy and Soroka's their pitcher? Where's your first pivot GPP-wise to turn this quote-unquote optimizer cash type lineup into more of a GPP lineup with leverage that can win somebody a tournament?
I'm coming off of probably Bryce Terang and then Soroka. Second base is such a terrible position. It's Soroka down to Lauer probably.
Okay.
And then
saves you obviously some money. And then you can apply that. Would you apply it directly to Terang's spot, or would you apply it to just maybe start with a different stack and instead of 5 stacking Toronto, maybe go somewhere else? Or would you still just 5 stack Toronto and just pick a different mini stack?
I think you can go either way. I guess changing or setting up a different mini stack probably makes the most sense. Problem is like I end up with like Cronenworth at second base, and then third base you can't get to Machado, so then the outfield you're probably getting Doyle up to Jackson Merrill. This really feels like I'm building my very first lineup.
Right.
Like I'm gonna look like, yeah, my first lineup is a Toronto San Diego combination with Kikuchi and Lauer. So like this lineup is turning directly into that. Not the same.
Basically, I think that's what people would want to know is, that's if that's where your lineup evolves and does so quickly, then that's good. That's where this lineup is kind of starting in that direction where you don't have to do a hell of a lot to it to get it to where you would go with something. So that bodes well for projections and optimizers, and maybe people's confidence in that what they're doing in the optimizer is on the right track. If it's not absolutely picking off a GPP, at least they know that they're hyper competitive and that they're building good, strong lineups that make sense, because it's a lot of there's so much short-term luck in this game that in a lot of cases, it's all we can do is build common sense lineups that take leverage in smart places. And then after that, it's just whether or not the ball went fair or foul. I mean, there's not a lot you can do.
Right.
That's good. I would take that as a strong positive, that you're not having to change that lineup around a ton. You're not going, wow, this is way off the rails compared to what I would do. That's good. It's good for DFS Army tools and all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think my initial Toronto stack is a little slightly different than the one that's built there, but it is definitely Toronto.
I also,
and it does leave that second base spot that I love for Cronenworth.
I eliminated 7, 8, 9 out of Toronto. So if I put them back in, we'll get some different stuff. Loperfido, or whatever his name is, down there at the bottom, he was projecting in the 2-hole earlier today. So up at the top of the order, he was a non-negotiable. That's where one thing has changed from early morning tweet till now. When he comes into the lineup in the 8-hole, he's no longer – DS is even saying, he's no longer optimal per se. He's probably close. But it picked up on, somebody else like, Luke's or something like that is batting a little while leading off. That would help, but he's more expensive. Was Loperfido in one of your earlier stacks when you were kind of playing around in the morning?
Yeah, he is, but I also don't pay attention to batting order when I'm hand building my GPP stuff.
Right.
I like Loperfido more than Luke's, just because I think Loperfido fits that ballpark and the gigantic outfield really well because of his gap power and speed.
That's just a numbers thing, right? That's not even a salary thing, he's $1,000 cheaper too. And does batting in the 8-hole versus 2-hole, does that do anything for you, or you still just like him better because? And if this game goes for 10 or 12 runs, he's going to get 5 at bats anyway.
I still like him just better. I think being the road team also then kind of helped offset the lineup difference too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If they're at home, a little different situation, I guess. But I like him. I mean, obviously the savings helps, but really the savings then allows me to get Barger in my original lineup at third. And he's just pricey, but I'll obviously have a bunch of variations of it. But I just, like you mentioned, I just love his Loperfido's fit. Obviously, I like it, Jen, because it's now going to lower his ownership, because there are sites in this industry that like hammer home top of the order only, like, and right. I think that's a mistake that we can take advantage of. And Loperfido is one of those guys that I like for upside, no matter where he is batting. Okay.
Would you even use him in a cash lineup still in the 8-hole, or would you kind of do that, go more to that top of the order thinking in something where you're aiming for high floor, ultimate safety? Not that that's possible in MLB. We say that all the time. But would you take that risk and keep him in a cash game lineup if he was in the 8-hole?
I mean, I'm probably not keeping him in. unless I just end up there on a last spot. I mean, it's tough because that was 30. I mean, 3,400 is such a cheap price tag, or like I guess you might end up just keeping him. I mean, like you can upgrade a couple lineup spots for guys in the outfield around that price point. Isaac Collins hitting fifth for the Brewers, Gavin Lux hitting fifth for the Reds, Angel Martinez hitting second for the Guardians, even though I don't love him against left-handed pitching, or I don't love the Guardians against left-handed pitching. I think Angel Martinez is fine. You even have Blake Perkins on the Brewers sitting in the sixth spot. Like, there's a lot of spots around there. Like, some people might say Austin Slater hitting fifth against Corbin, but Slater's going to get pinch hit for at some point in that game.
I'm going to still go back to you're in Coors Field. The game projects to be high scoring. An 8-hole hitter versus a 5-hole hitter somewhere else isn't much of an upgrade when you're leaving Coors to do it. So I mean, I guess my concern would almost be like a Luke's versus Laprofito, in that if Laprofito gets a fifth at bat, Luke's probably getting a sixth. And again, that doesn't matter unless they're both wearing the sombrero. It does a little, but if Laprofito hits a double and three dudes score because of it, well, then Luke's doesn't need that sixth at bat. He's not going to touch Laprofito's fantasy score for the night, probably.
Right. I mean, I think the easiest comparison would be Varsho versus Laprofito.
Okay.
Because Varsho's $1,500 more on DraftKings, and he's hitting sixth. He's not at the top of the lineup, so he's just 2 spots ahead of Laprofito. Like, I'm gonna much rather play Laprofito then. Like, if Varsho pops up in a cash lineup, which I think he is in that one, isn't he?
He
so
is.
Small on my screen.
It's still small, even at this. Or are you?
I have it minimized a little bit so I can look.
Okay.
I can see it, but I mean, so like, I dropped 2 spots in the lineup, save $1,500, and then now I can upgrade third base.
Correct. That I can definitely see going.
I mean, you can do that. You can upgrade pitching, kind of. Like, I don't think I'd need to, but like, I'd upgrade third base, or I guess upgrade. Brent Doyle in this spot, depending on what we moved around. Which, I mean, Doyle's in Coors, yes, but like, still think there's somebody at 5K then that probably can get it done.
So if you saw this lineup, I guess that's what you're saying. If you saw this lineup in cash, I mean, the 5 stack in Toronto doesn't bother you too much, but the first thing you probably are coming off of might be, well, if not Soroka, the first thing you're going to come off of hitter-wise is probably Varsho, because in the 6th hole at 5K, you can just do better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Varsho's projecting a little stronger than I feel about him in the spot.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, I mean, you're replacing somebody in the same spot for a lot cheaper, and I can get behind that, a lot easier.
Okay. DePrince is asking me to pull a FanDuel one, so let me do that really quick too, and then we can probably let everybody build their lineups. But I'm hoping that these questions, following up and these and diving a little bit deep into these lineups and these pivots and whatnot with Razzle, I'll pull it up in the optimizer because it's no problem for me to do. But then asking Razzle what he would do, what he would change, I hope helps everybody else build their lineups, whether they're building cash or building GPP lineups, because that's the whole idea of what we're trying to do here. If it helps, let me know. And I mean, I appreciate Razzle's insights, even though he doesn't play cash. I mean, he's just thinking it through. So that one went easily at 150. We got to pump this up a little bit. See if we can get. FanDuel usually shuts down. It's weird, a little before DraftKings does with the slider idea. So we're in the 180, 190 range. Let's try 190. If not, we'll just go back to 180. So we don't take too much time doing this. Okay, so 180, we'll call that the number. It could be 185. I just want it to build lineups. So we can go through and see who's the cash game pitcher over on FanDuel. Well, cash game. Who's the optimal? Soroka again. That you might completely disagree with on FanDuel.
I haven't even looked at what pricing is like. So,
I think Freed, I think, was way up there. Priced way different. Yeah, he's 9,700 on FanDuel. But still like Soroka. Loves a ton of Blue Jays. It loves game stacking with Rockies. It's throwing Kittle Marte in there. There's Roman Anthony, who was mentioned. Do you consider Juan Soto a cash game type player right now? I mean, I know he's historically, but would you opt for something else over the slate if you saw him in your lineup? I mean, I'm not super high on Juan Soto in a cash lineup right now.
I mean, 3,900. I mean, I definitely take Christian Yelich over Juan Soto on FanDuel cash.
See,
I don't know.
Exactly. There you go. Let's do. There's Jordan Beck. There's Jackson Merrill in the utility spot. But it's all 4 stacking, and it's 3 stacking Rockies. Interesting. 2 stacking, 3 stacking Rockies. I'm trying to find something. It's maybe a little bit more diversified. But it's picking up Soto and Roman Anthony a lot. I don't know. I'd have to play with these two. So let's just kind of go up to lineup 1 or 2. Let's look at lineup number 1. Soroka at pitcher. Vladdy, Freeman at second base. There's Barger, Bichette. So you're getting the bigs. That's your pricing difference between DraftKings and FanDuel. FanDuel is obviously softer pricing. We talk about that a lot. Roman Anthony, Jordan Beck, Juan Soto, Dalton Varsho. Tournament-wise, what would you pivot off of, or would you pivot off stuff in this even for cash that you feel safer?
I mean, I just don't like Soroka for cash at all. There's nothing safe about him in general. So like that to me just looks like it's accepting him at picture.
Bear in mind, he's not even 20% owned according to our projections. So
right.
If he may be the cash game pitcher, he may end up in 55, 60% of the lineups. I don't know. But under 20% with Freed, with Kikuchi at 12, and there's Manaea Glass now. Those guys are all over 10 before it really dropped. Again, we're kind of talking about the same stuff as we did on the DraftKings side. And if you don't trust Soroka, who would you trust instead? Freed, Kikuchi, Manaea Glass now, or would you just say F it and pick somebody else?
I mean, I'm going with Freed yet.
Okay. So still, even at 9,700.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fairly certain you can build pretty strong lineups on FanDuel, even paying up.
Well, it's locking in
pitcher.
You got to loosen the salary. Let's come down a ways in the salary, and that should do it easily. Now you got Freed locked in. Still, less interesting. Loves Roman Anthony. He might be almost like a free square or a lock on FanDuel at 2,700. Probably just too important, in that lineup at 2,700 in the 3-hole. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Now it flips to 4 Rockies in some cases, which I don't love. Kim, it's Tampa Bay. There's one that's got 2. Roman Anthony and Ref Snyder in there with Tovar, Beck, Freeman, and then Guerrero, Barger, Bichette. Boy, that's not bad. That's not bad for the game, for the situation tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Ref Snyder's going to get pinch hit for too.
Right. Which you don't want in a cash game.
Right. The reason why I point that out is.
Yeah, literally costs you 1 to 2 at-bats.
But yeah, I mean, it fits really well. Edison Barger's super cold right now. I used him a ton, but he's probably of the guys that I'm, Toronto's, or that we're going to get a lot in stacks. Like Barger's actually lower on my list.
Has his price come down some, you think, on both sites as a result of being cold?
No, his DK price is like 5,600 or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually they go up really fast when they have big games and big runs, and then they don't come down nearly as fast.
When he was hot, it was way too cheap, like 34 to 4,100. So usually, like, DraftKings seems to adjust their price after the hot streak. I can't speak to FanDuel because I open up FanDuel like once a month.
Okay.
But Barger being cold and the fact that the pitcher is kind of a reverse splits guy is why I prefer the right-handed bats or I guess somebody like La Profito who just gap guy with speed, I think fits, like I mentioned. But I mean, like, I don't have a problem just going with 2 Toronto bats like Vlad and Bichette and Cash with a couple Colorado bats, maybe. I mean, I like Beck a lot. Freeman at second makes sense because second base is, well, at least on DK, second base is a pretty weak position. FanDuel has so many multi-position eligible guys that it's probably not as weak on FanDuel. I mean, Tovar's cheap enough over there too, even though I really love Trevor Story. But
I'll tell you what, we're at about an hour. We ought to probably let everybody build lineups. I think that we've pretty much covered it from top to bottom. I just want to remind everybody down there in the banners that NFL 25 coupon code, $50 off the yearly membership. NFL 2025 is half off your first month if you're new to the Army. And of course, we've got other coupon codes, so you guys can hit me up, hit Tattoo up, hit Razzle up. Everybody will give you every code that we know right now because we're trying to pile in, get ready for NFL season as baseball hits its home stretch. And I don't know, for me, for you, for DFS Army and everybody else, thanks for tuning in. You have any final words for everybody, or should we just play the outro and be gone?
I got nothing. Ready to go.
Sounds good to me. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. As always, let's go build those lineups. Helmets up. See a lot of winners. Put them in the winning lineups room. We love sharing that stuff. And we'll catch you tomorrow. See you later, everybody.